Good for you.
No.
It's me. It's PLD.
And I'm Batman.
And I'm the short, angry guy that likes to yell a lot. And this is Class Action.
This is the classiest movie show on the interwebs. Movie show? A movie show.
Movie show.
A movie show.
Movie show. Movie show. It is the movie show. And we are here on Class Action. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to PLD Projects. Welcome to Class Action. And if this is your first time here, give us a like. Give us a subscribe. We are on a marching goal towards 500 subscribers. It's a modest goal. It's a modest goal. We're slowly making it there. We could use your help. So appreciate anything you guys do in that direction. Now I'll stop the spiel and get into today's show, which is a lot.
Can I just say I'm actually shocked that you actually did it at the start, because it's normally the thing you do like towards the end, but you're like every week you're like, I should probably do this at the start. I should probably do this. You actually did it.
Aren't you proud of me? Aren't you proud of me?
I'm very proud of you.
I'm getting a little more professional.
When did we become guys who chase viewers and likes and subscriptions? What the fuck happened to us? When did we turn into this machine?
Well, I've always been a little bit of a whore. I can't lie. Now it's just becoming more, I don't know, more public sentiment. So
this is just us chatting, us friends chatting. We don't need
Well,
viewers. There's
want
viewers
people,
here.
We want people to
These are
chat with
bots.
us. Oh yeah, they're just porn bots.
there are viewers. You're calling Kelly. I hope you're not calling Kelly.
I'm sorry, Kelly. This is...
We love you, Kelly.
You like the AI is pretty fucking advanced. There is no way to tell if she's a real person or an AI.
So, little behind the scenes, I had to go with the new Mourner single of putting like an AI artwork together.
Right.
It is freaky how you can type in 3 words.
Crazy.
And it pretty much comes up with like a Picasso painting.
Wow.
Like that level.
It's
like,
crazy.
It's
Did you hear the news that? Sorry.
Go ahead. No bad.
Did you hear the news that ChatGPT or whatever it's called passed a course in economics and got a B? Dude, what the fuck? What's up, Christo?
This is mind blowing. I don't know what to say about this. We are moving in a direction. We are getting closer and closer to Terminator Zone. I don't know whether I like this or not at this point. I mean, we got a movie coming out about it. We should have a movie coming out about it at this point because we're getting that close.
Good for you.
What's up, Chris? So good to see you. And Kelly's going to want to test if I'm real, Jarvi. That's a little challenge. Interesting. But alrighty, let's talk about today's topic. We have, of course, 2 of the greatest. I don't know if I say 2 of the greatest actors of our time, but 2 of the greatest showmen of our time specifically. They are great actors as well. They are greatest.
I see what you did there.
You did see what I did there. They're not in the shadows any longer, but they are definitely stalwarts of, shall we say, the action family, so to speak. Christian Bale, of course, Batman, as well as many other cool roles. And we have Hugh Jackman, who is probably best known for Wolverine. So it's Batman versus Wolverine in real time, in real place. This is a very interesting category for us. We had been kind of caught up doing our movie versus movie for quite a while. We did a bunch of series in a while. We just finally finished up our Lethal Weapon versus Die Hard series, which was a lot of fun. Go check those out. But we are doing something a little bit different. We did a lot of these during the first run of Class Action, a lot more of these rather. We putting 2 actors up against each other. Obviously, that changes our format a little bit. We have, instead of talking about specific categories about the films, we're talking about the actors and their different roles. It's not specific movies, it's their entire filmography, past, present, and also future. I do love both of these guys. Do you have a snap judgment pick, Jarvi? When you hear these names, if you have a Hugh Jackman movie coming out, a Christian Bale movie coming out, nothing further, you can't decide anything else, which one are you going to see first?
Okay, so this kind of blends into one of my categories. So I don't want to answer which movie would I go to watch. If I just had to pick who's going to win this match, to me, it's a coin toss. I love both of these guys for very different reasons. But if I had to pick, Bale, no Jackman, no Bale. Fuck, I can't choose. Just Bale. I don't just for.
I love watching Jarvi score.
No, it's gonna be Jackman. It's Jackman.
Of course, you're gonna go. You're gonna go with huge jacked man. Always, always.
Is that who you're going with, Matty?
No, I'm going with Christian Bale.
Oh, interesting. Right away,
I can't pick.
Topic that is amazing to me because I had the feeling this was going to happen. This is one of those cases where we love both of them, and it goes back and forth in our minds. This is not a clear-cut winner. I could flip a coin right now, and it could probably go either way, and I'd be happy. My snap judgment, without further ado, I'm going to go boom. I think it's going to be Jackman. I don't know why. I think it's going to be Jackman.
Oh, wow.
It has a bit more of commercialness to him that makes it more admirable. Not admirable is just the wrong word. More enjoyable. I don't know. We'll have to find out though through the categories because that's always how we do things at PLD Projects Class Action. We put things up in 5 or 6 special made categories, and we figure out which one is going to win via this competition. I want to say also in the chat there, Insania's Panamas. I don't know who that is. That's probably, I guess Matty brought.
I believe that's my friend Bree.
But that is awesome to have you here in our chat. Of course, Galactus always here. Bale doesn't wear hockey pads. That's true.
No, and Bale doesn't skip leg day either.
Skip a leg day either. That's absolutely true. And I guess you are.
Who, Bale?
There you go.
Hello.
All right. Let's see.
Prisoners.
All right. Let's go on then to our first game. I say first game. It's really our only game. We only do one game per show before we move on to the meat of the show. So
we could do the IMDb game as well if you guys think we have time.
We could, but I'd like to. Let's not do that today. I think we should go to them.
Let's not, because I looked up what they're known for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. We're done with Lethal Weapon, Matty. Stop. Okay, so instead of the wheel round, which we had introduced recently, the wheel round was where we took up this wheel, we spun the wheel, and we would take one of whatever actor was on the wheel. We had 10 actors, and we would insert them into whatever the movie of the week was. This being not a movie versus movie, we had to change things up a little bit. So instead of the wheel round, we're going to do role reversal. In this case, we are going to recast a role in each of the filmography with the other actor. We're going to place Christian Bale into a Hugh Jackman role, and likewise put a Hugh Jackman into a Christian Bale role, what we would want to see. This is going to be interesting for sure because these guys do have a little bit of a similarity to them. They both have the action set pieces. They both have the showman side. They both have some dramatic chops. They both are known for being very intense. So is it going to be very different? I don't know if it'd be very different no matter what we decide. But either way, let's get into it. Who wants to start? I'm going to not care. I don't care who's going to want to start. Jarvi, you're starting.
Which one are we going with first? Bale or Jackman?
Whatever you want. Whatever Jarvi decides.
All right, let's go with Christian Bale first.
Okay, so we're putting Christian Bale into a Hugh Jackman role. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, before you start, we already have it over. Sandy has to switch them in the Prestige. That makes sense to me.
You could do that. This is one of the reasons why I thought of this matchup in the first place. There was an interview somewhere. I think Bale and Jackman both were on a podcast doing an interview, and they called it the Prestige Reunion. And I was like, huh, interesting. I think we should do that on the show somehow. So here we are.
Prestige. So here we are.
But Christian Bale, so he isn't really known for, his happy roles. He's more of an intense guy. So I would definitely switch him in The Greatest Showman. I want to see how Christian Bale would dance, sing, laugh, tiptoe around, do whatever crazy shenanigans Hugh Jackman is doing, just to see if he could pull it off. I think he would definitely give it his all, but could it be a believable performance? I really want to see that.
Wow.
Damn.
I mean, the only thing you could have done that would have been more crazy to me would have been to put him in Les Miserables. But Greatest Show.
Thought of it, but that's because Les Miserables is an Oscar-nominated role. I want him to be completely in a commercial type role.
Okay. Can Christian Bale hack that? I mean, he was in Newsies back in the day. He can
Shout out
do
Kevin
that.
Smets.
Always a shout out to Kevin Smets. We love Kevin Smets around here. Very interesting call. Can he pull it off like Jackman can? I don't know if he can.
I don't think he can.
I don't think he.
I don't either, but that's why I want to see it.
Okay.
Here's the thing, though. He's so good at everything. He could surprise us.
He absolutely could. He absolutely could. I would be interested in seeing that. I would be. I don't think he does it better, but I do think he has a chance of potentially surprising us. Again, like, yes, he did do musicals in the past, so he has a potential. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. And I mean, he did some dancing too. Obviously, in American Psycho, that was pretty great dancing roles. So
I love that movie.
So, all right, Matty. What about you?
Could you imagine what Hugh Jackman would say when he found out that Christian Bale was doing The Greatest Showman sequel, for example? He'd just go, no!
So, this isn't my pick, but can you imagine that scene, the flex in the mirror scene, but with Hugh Jackman's body?
Ooh, that would be intriguing.
That's not my pick, though.
Gotta switch mine out.
My pick is I am swapping Christian Bale for Hugh Jackman in Real Steel because we've already seen Christian Bale do it in The Fighter.
You know what? That's a classic.
Yeah, he's got the moves.
That's a
doing
very
the pads,
classic move.
you know.
Yeah, Christian Bale could definitely hack that out. I mean, that would be. The funny thing is, I don't know if Christian Bale quite has the. I mean, he has charm, but it's a different kind of charm than Hugh Jackman. I feel like. I don't know if Christian Bale.
It's everyman charm, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if it quite works the same way as Hugh Jackman would do that, but I guess that's why we're switching him out to see what a different role it would be. I do like the idea. It's definitely a far safer choice than The Greatest Showman for sure.
PJ just heard me say that and he woke up in a cold sweat because I know he loves Real Steel. So he's like, what?
He does do that. Okay, cool. I just want to say hey to Matty Kearns in the chat. Batman versus Wolverine. I mean, Wolverine wins the fight. That's a little. Okay, that's a total.
That's funny. I was watching an interview with them both. I was watching an interview with them both to prepare for this, and they talked about one day when their careers are all washed up and everything, then bringing back as Batman and Wolverine to fight each other in a movie. I thought that was pretty funny.
As DC has always said, if you give Batman enough time, you can pretty much defeat anybody. So you got to keep that in mind too. So
that's it.
Alrighty. So I guess it's my turn then. Okay. What role would I place? I want to put Christian Bale into a series of movies that Hugh Jackman did that maybe did not get its due. It's not really a series of movies. It's really one movie with an animated spinoff. I think Christian Bale could hack Van Helsing.
Yes,
because Christian Bale has that kind of already dark brooding. He can do the dark and brooding just as easily as well as Jackman can, and I think his charm and his intensity actually pushes that Van Helsing character into a direction that needed more than Jackman could give it in a way. It's a little bit darker, a little bit more intense, a little less. Jackman has that charismatic side to him that Bale doesn't quite have. Again, it's a very weird kind of differences. But I think that Christian Bale could push that to a totally different direction, making it a little bit more serious, a little bit more adventurous in a way. And I would like to see that.
Plus, do you think Van Helsing Kate Beckinsale as well?
No, that's true.
Yeah. But do you think Van Helsing suffered because of the tone? I think the tone of Van Helsing was actually so. I don't know. Now Van Helsing feels like it's sort of become this. You know, it's so bad it's kind of enjoyable watch.
Right.
I think it's a very fun watch now, but I don't know if you made it super serious. I love Bale in the role, but I wonder if changing up the tone would fix the movie.
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to decide. It's been a long time since I've actually seen the movie. I'm not going to lie. But I would like to give it a shot and see if a little more serious angle could push it in a further direction. I mean, maybe you don't need it. Maybe you need to go the other direction. Maybe this is exactly the tone we need for a universal, like a horror monster.
Maybe you need Adam Sandler in the role.
I think that'd be a little bit of step too far, perhaps. But I do love that idea, though. Just trying to throw back into the chat, Matt Movie saying Bale is a different kind of charm. Like in Ford versus Ferrari, you can't tell me Bale isn't charming. Absolutely.
He can.
Absolutely can. I'm just trying to, I'm having a hard time articulating it, but there's just a different kind of charm, I feel like. But all right.
There is a word for it, but I don't want to say it now because, again, it's in one of my categories.
Okay, we'll get back to that then. How about that? And you know what? You're right. Actually, I was disappointed Van Helsing didn't have a sequel. I thought it had potential to have a good series too. It would have been kind of cool. Before we move on to our other side, flipping the role, Matt Movies, Matty Curran saying, I want to put Hugh into Terminator Salvation as John Connor, which is something I did think about as well. And Bale into Bad Education. Now, that is actually another interesting idea. I didn't even think of that one, to be honest with you. That could work out quite well, maybe. You guys have any thoughts on that, on Bad Education?
I watched Bad Education. Shout out to our friend Jeff Alterman. Like, he recommended me watch it in like preparation for this. And I was surprised that that movie didn't get more acclaim, didn't get more attention, because Jackman,
good.
Yeah, really good. Really good.
It's a good film.
It's like about like embezzling through the school system and stuff, which
oh yeah, that's based on a true story, right? Where they're rich people try to put their kids through school, like pay off some bullshit. And yeah, and got a great cast. Obviously, besides Jackman, also Allison Janney, Alex Wolff's in it as well. Ray Romano's in it. It's good. It's a good film. It's a good film. I think Bale could have hacked that role pretty well, though. I think that would have been a good choice. Good choice, Kearns. I do say that. Okay. All right, let's move on then, Jarvi. Let's go back to you. Let's put Jackman into a Bale role. And what are we going to do about that? So I had one that I kind of don't want to use now.
Oh no.
I had him as Patrick Bateman, but now kind of I don't know. It feels like Matty already called it, so
no.
I'm gonna pick a new.
If you want to go with that one, you can go.
No, but that's so you mentioned it. Now it's like the magic is over. I feel like I'm gonna flip it the other way. When Matty said he's gonna put Christian Bale into Real Steel, I'm gonna put Hugh Jackman in The Fighter, and I want to see him physically transform into this, drug addict. Try to see what he's like there, because I think Hugh Jackman would have had better chemistry with Mark Wahlberg. So I love the movie. I love these roles, but I think that could have been a more interesting pairing.
I do think Hugh Jackman's personality would have changed that tone just a smidge, but not necessarily for the bad. I think it actually could make it, I don't know if I'd say make it better, but
no.
It'd been interesting.
Just those two together, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because Wahlberg and Bale is kind of a weird pairing, if you think of it.
They are. I think Jackman and Wahlberg are more of a natural pairing in a way, but maybe the odd pairing is what makes it work so well, potentially. But I would be interested to see how that would work. It's a good call.
I love both of you are trying to make this work. Jarvi is actually off his fucking rockers, but I'm just gonna nod.
My thing is, can you have two stars of that caliber together without the egos clashing? Not the egos clashing, but the two of them fighting for the space.
I mean, it's happened.
That's
before.
what I would be interested to see, because not so much on Hugh's side, on Mark's side.
Interesting.
Would Mark be willing to share the spotlight with someone as big and like bombast and bright as Hugh Jackman? Because Christian Bale is like, he's very shows up, does the work, does what he's told, not what he's told, but like does what he's there to do, does it great, and then goes home.
Interesting. Oh yeah, that's a good point. I think that's part of what I was trying to say as far as their difference in personalities. That Christian Bale, Hugh Jackman is definitely much more of a outgoing kind of personality, where he shines more bright. Where Christian Bale tends to like be more of a internalized actor in a way. That's an interesting call. I don't know. That'd be interesting.
I want to see it though.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing
that's why I'm picking. I'm not picking the perfect fit. I'm picking the one that I want to see. That'll be weird.
Okay.
I
Okay.
like it.
All right. There, Matty talked about it.
Mine is actually somewhat of a weird pick as well, and it is actually prestige related.
Okay.
I am swapping Hugh Jackman for Christian Bale in Velvet Goldmine
Fuck.
because
In what?
Velvet Goldmine, the Ziggy Stardust inspired
Damn it. That's what mine was
David
too.
Bowie movie. Because Jackman worked off, and there's interviews where Bale is pissed that Jackman was the one that got to work with Bowie. So having Hugh Jackman, who can sing, has that very artistic flair, the showmanship.
Yeah.
Putting him opposite Bowie in Velvet Goldmine.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. No, honestly, that was my initial pick as well, because it's saying for the same exact reason. I feel that just what, again, it seems like it's going throughout my entire conversation here, but the fact that Hugh is this more outgoing personality, more shining, more greatest showman type, I think that fits in very well with the Velvet Goldmine vibe, which is basically all about that. It's a more retro, more classic rock angle of it, obviously glam rock angle of it, but I think that would have been really kind of a cool thing to see. So I do like that pick quite a bit. I love that movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I think I gotta kind of watch that again. Charlie, what do you think about it?
I have not seen it.
You've never seen Velvet Goldmine? Ooh, okay.
I can't even find it on. I can't even find it in his filmography.
Oh yeah, it's 1998. 1998. It stars
there
Hugh
it is.
McGregor, and it's good film. It's a great film. It's before its time, really. I think. Okay, real quick before I get to mine, we'll throw out some more chat. Matty Gunner, Matty Kearns, saying that Hugh Jackman replacing Bale in Empire of the Sun, a 54-year-old Jackman playing a 12, 13-year-old. Very nice, Matty, always. Reefism would like to see Hugh in American Psycho or Shaft 2000. I think Hugh Jackman would have fit Shaft as a villainous role in Shaft 2000.
I just want to see Jackman in that one scene in American Psycho.
Well, yeah, I know you do.
I thought he wanted to see him as Shaft. I was like, what?
They're saying Mark shared the screen well with Farrell and the other guys. That's a good point.
It's true, but that's Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell's not like the type to come in and really fight.
He's not a peacock.
Yeah, he's not a peacock. He's just like, okay, what are my lines? Cool. How can I make this funnier?
It's a different tone of film, obviously, too, where you're like the more out there, the better in a way. The more over the top you both are, the better the movie is to a degree. The fighter is definitely a different kind of role in that sense. All right, so I was thinking about Velvet Gold by myself, but I did have an alternate or two that I was thinking about. So I could still pay my way here, pay my dues, so to speak. It's a movie again I haven't seen in a long time, but I kind of feel like could do with a little bit of more adventure in a way than that a little more adventure that Jackman could give it versus Bale. I'm going to go with the little 2002 film Reign of Fire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, baby.
I love this movie. I feel like it's an underrated classic. It doesn't get talked about very much, but you got Matthew McConaughey in it. You got Jerry B in it. I think adding Hugh Jackman's zest and his adventure, I think that would make this film even better. Not that Bale did a bad job. Bale did a great job in it. I think that just Jackman adds a little something to it, which I would be excited to see. Yeah. All right. There we go. Just want to say, hey, everybody, Galagos, Andres Gallegos. I love this guy. Good to see you in the chat. And what about The Machinist?
Jackman in The Machinist.
I don't know if he can get that skinny, that thin.
Well, I was watching an interview of him the other day, and he says he's been eating 6,000 calories a day to bulk up for Deadpool 3.
That makes
sense. I don't know if he could, but if he could, go for it. But when you said a little known film in the 2000s, I thought you were going to I thought you were going to pull a bait and switch and go Equilibrium.
Yeah. You know what? That would have been cool too, actually. But I would have replaced Angus screaming instead, the bad guys. Angus McFadden, I guess, instead. That's what I would have done. Now that would have made that a better movie, potentially. Just want to say real quick, also thrown in chat there, Christian Bale played one of the bad guys. Yes, that's true. He played one of the best bad guys.
I've seen Shaft 2000.
I mean, it's a solid film. It's fun. Yes, we were talking about Reign of Fire briefly. Yeah. We just had to say we were putting Hugh Jackman into the Reign of Fire role, Andres. All right. Alrighty, let's go to our meat of the show. our categories, and we're going to determine who is the ultimate winner here, Bale or Jackman. And here we go. Our categories are as follows. 1, better dramatic actor. 2, more marketable actor. 3, more iconic roles. 4, more consistent filmography. And 5, probably the most interesting category to me, better future potential, the buy or sell. Who are we going to look forward in the future to being more successful or have the potential to be more successful? We are going to start with better dramatic actor. Matty, I'm going to leave it to you.
I think I gotta give this one to Christian Bale. When I was in college in film studies, we had to do a essay comparing the two versions of 310 to Yuma, and that's when I really clicked with Christian Bale as an actor, not a movie star. I think at this point I'd only seen him in Equilibrium and the Batman movies. I think that's all I'd seen him in at this point. That moment when they're escorting Russell Crowe to I forget the name of I did a whole bloody essay. Wherever the prison town is, and they're in the house and he's there with his wife. He's like, I'm tired of the way that the boys look at me. I'm tired of the way that you don't. That's a really I was like, oh damn, this dude can act. And his whole back and forth with Russell Crowe, that whole movie, Russell Crowe was absolutely on fire for that entire movie. I was like, this dude is more than a movie star. And then you can go to how Patrick Bateman, he can show zero emotion, and then suddenly he's Dickie Eklund in The Fighter, a complete switch over, complete opposite. Jackman is he's more of a movie star. It's the whole actor versus movie star debate. Can he act? Yes. Is he attractive? Yes. Can he charm the shit out of an audience? Yes. He checks every box. While Christian Bale doesn't check every box, I think he does more than that with the ones that he can do. Whereas Jackman is more can he do this? Yes. Can he do this? Yep. He can do it all, but he doesn't really excel in everything. Everything Bale does, he excels in.
All right. I like where your head's at. In fact, I'm going to jump on board with you on this point because I want to say, given that today was the Oscar nominations, and we're not going to talk much about that because I haven't had a chance to really let it sink in. If you look at that specifically, just as a starting point, Bale has had 4 nominations and 1 win. Jackman has had 1 nomination. Now, is that the end all and be all? Mm-hmm. No, of course not. Of course, it's not the end all and be all. However, I think Christian Bale has had more of a grounded background in things. I mean, he started even in the movies, Empire of the Sun, Henry V, Little Women. He has a lot of these straightforward, more dramatic chops. And he's more of he sinks more into his roles, I believe, than Jackman does. I believe Jackman, when you look at a movie and you see Hugh Jackman starring, there's a little bit of that's Hugh Jackman. He's playing Hugh Jackman. Even as Wolverine, he's still kind of playing Hugh Jackman to a degree. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, Bruce Willis survived for years doing that. That's what Bruce Willis did. That's what a lot of actors do.
Denzel does.
Denzel does that. The Rock does that even more. That is absolutely. He's more of a current one. Given that in times, that's why we said before, I couldn't see Christian Bale I couldn't see Hugh Jackman doing The Machinist like Christian Bale did, because that's kind of the development of the craft that he has. I mean, he goes to whatever the insane degree of The Machinist, and that's the bulk up for Batman, and then bulks up for Vice even more, giving himself a good old PLD cut there, and
American Hustle.
Absolutely, and it's not just the physicality of it. Although that's part of it, he definitely has more of a. I don't care about he doesn't really seem to care about the financial side of things. It's not about connecting with the audience as far as making a franchise, whatever. He happened to get one with Batman. Absolutely happened to get one with Batman. He did get into the MCU, but again, he totally disappears in that role of Gore in a way that Hugh Jackman I don't think really could have. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to slight Hugh Jackman because Hugh Jackman has had quite a few amazing roles as well. I think he did get his nomination for Les Miserables. His portrayal of Jean Valjean was extraordinary. No one knew what to expect from him. I don't think anyone. I think if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, people were not looking forward to his or Russell Crowe for that matter. And they both kind of went, "I'm going to show you how it's done," and they were widely accepted for being pretty damn good in the roles. And if you look at something like Prisoners, I mean, he was intense at his pure Hugh Jackman best in Prisoners. His intensity, I don't think he's ever quite matched that intensity as in Prisoners, but it's definitely strong. But he's also, I almost also want to convince myself to give it to Jackman for the simple fact of Logan, because he took a comic book character, a comic character known and loved by millions, a franchise character, and made something real with it. Like Logan is probably the most real comic book movie as far as that goes, which while still being a comic book movie. You could argue that Bale did that with the Dark Knight trilogy with Nolan, but I still feel like Jackman felt like a comic book, but still felt like a comic book character, but was still done with the dramatic chops. With that being said, going back and forth, end of the day, I'm still going to give it. I'm going to give it to Bale, just for his dramatic chops looking just a bit better. So I'm going to go with Bale. Jarvi, you joining us? Are you with us?
This is definitely Bale's category, but it is a lot more closer than I initially thought when I was thinking about this category. So I figured, okay, so this is a Bale category easily. But if you look at Hugh Jackman's roles, I mean, The Fountain, I mean, that's a profound performance. I love that movie. I love the performance. The Prestige, both of them are freaking amazing in that one. You mentioned Les Miserables. Prisoners, I don't think Prisoners is where he's Hugh Jackmaniest. I think this is where he truly disappears. This is I there are these angry moments, sure, these Wolverine moments, but I'm transported when I'm watching that movie. I don't see Hugh Jackman in that one. I just see a father who's on the brink of losing his shit, and for good reason. And one movie that he really deserved a nomination for this year, The Sun. Hugh Jackman in The Sun was, I'd say, one of his career best performances. That was an amazing movie. So and I feel like I think Jackman has the capability to rival Bale in this category, but I think where Bale takes it, it's his intensity and he's sort of, I don't know, method way of approaching the craft of acting. He's so deep into the lore and method, I feel like is the word to go with here. Whereas Jackman will always be like, yeah, I'm going to do a great role, but just Bale's going to he would kill himself for a good role, I feel like.
All right. Real quick, I just want to jump to the chat. And we got Andreas saying, fuck, the best role. Talk about the ending he saw for Prisoners at a test screening. That I'd like to talk to you about because I love that movie. And Sanius as well loves Prisoners, Jackman. That's why I love him. That's one of the reasons I love him as well. I will say, I get what you're saying, Jarvi, before I continue with the chat. I get what you're saying about him disappearing into the role in Prisoners. I think I meant more that at his intense moment, that's when the Jackman snuck out. That's where I loved him. But I love him in I thought he could have got a nomination for that role as well. I thought it was really well deserved, especially for, as Andre says, that scene in the car. Him and
that's
and
crazy.
It's
I'm
so
getting
powerful. It's so powerful.
Do you guys know I actually have a friend who didn't like Prisoners? I'm not going to name them because they will.
I can see that.
They will be absolutely shamed.
Oof.
But they. I was at their house and they went on like a 5-minute rant about everything they hate about Prisoners, and I just tuned out after like 30 seconds. I was like, "You're crazy. You're insane."
I could see somebody not wanting to watch Prisoners again.
Exactly. It's too disturbing.
It's too disturbing. It's very.
Oh no, he just didn't like it. He just thought it sucked.
That's just.
And I was just
what
is wrong with you?
That's absolutely wrong. I also need to comment, Galactus in the chat saying Shane Peel, The History of Violence with Ed Harris is a more real comic book movie than Logan. Yes, but that's not exactly what I meant by a real comic book movie. I meant because Wolverine is much more of a comic book. Like History of Violence is a comic book movie, but it doesn't feel like a comic book. It's like more of a graphic novel. It's a serious story just done in graphic novel form. Wolverine is an actual comic book, like a real. It's got a comic book flavor if that just made real. Does that make sense? Am I making sense to you guys on that?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And there's our Ed Harris mention for the week.
There it is. I had to get in there somewhere. Thank you, Galactus, for giving it to me. And by the way, the Sun, I haven't got a chance to see the Sun yet. I'm not going to lie. So I will have to take a look at that.
It's so good.
There. But all right. So we are done with that category. And it looks like Andres actually agrees. It looks like everybody's kind of agreeing with us overall. Seems that in the chat that they agree that Bale probably wins the better dramatic chops or better dramatic actor. So let's move on to more marketable. And I'll start with this one. I think this is where exactly what I mean about my entire Jackman rant before, about everything I've talked about. I think Jackman is easily the more marketable of the two. I think Christian Bale has done well in certain roles. I mean, he got the Batman role, but even his Dark Knight trilogy was more about the villains. It was more about, got Heath Ledger in there. And Cillian Murphy even overtakes him a little bit in my eyes in the Batman Begins, and Tom Hardy in Dark Knight Rises. He's gotten some great success. Absolutely got some great success. American Psycho is definitely a great success for him. But in terms of overall, you got to look at Jackman's side. Jackman had that Greatest Showman is like the kingpin of that. It's kind of like that. That is what he does. He is marketing. He's a song and dance man. He can do action. He can do comic books. He can do dramatic chops with Les Miserables. He can do that kind of thing. And he's been in just movies that seem to be more commercially, even if they're not successful, they're more commercially appealing. They're easier to market, easier to sell. And that's, again, why Christian Bale wins the dramatic chops, because he goes to more maybe challenging roles, potentially. Not challenging is not the right word, because not Hugh Jackman is taking it easy, but they're more focused on being dramatic and not necessarily marketing. Hugh Jackman is the guy who can lead the Oscars. You can put him in an Oscar. Thank you. There you go. Oscar host. Thank you, Andres, in the chat. Just as I say that.
Done that.
Right there. He's a true performer, film actor, Oscar host, stage actor, stage singer. That's exactly my thing. He can do all of that. Whereas Christian Bale is Christian Bale, a great actor. So at that point, I have to say, I have to give this to Jackman as definitely by far the more marketable of the two. Jarvi, hit me up. What do you think?
There's just going with the grain here. I think that Bale does have like a lot more marketability than you would think. Like he has done those commercial roles. He showed that in like being in Thor, like doing the press junkets, he was way more. And I'm gonna say the word now that I didn't want to say before. He showed that he has this side of approachability about him that Hugh Jackman has loads of. Like you feel like you could just go up to him, talk to him. He's gonna thank you. He's gonna take a picture with you. He's gonna send you on your merry way. If you go up to Christian Bale, he might smack you. He might curse you off. I mean, he's a nice guy, I'm sure. But you've all heard his rant on not a movie that you should maybe be too method in, Terminator Salvation. And he was completely invested. He went 110% into this role, which did not require it, but that's how he respects his craft. But there's something about dramatic actors doing commercial. Like if you would put Christian Bale in a DC or a Marvel movie now, okay, he's been in a Marvel movie, but he was a villain. But if you put him as a heroic character in either DC or Marvel or in, God forbid, Star Wars, you would be.
What do you mean, God forbid?
I want to see that. Like he would never do Star Wars. You definitely want to see that. You are enticed by the idea. Same thing that was for Eternals, like Chloe Zhao. Am I saying her name right? Yeah. Like the fact that they announced that an Oscar-winning director is doing a Marvel movie now, that gets everyone going. That has great marketability in it. And I feel like if they announce Christian Bale in a very commercial role now, everyone would be on board. But I think it still comes down to not just the roles, but the way you are off screen and the way you're promoting your movies. Like Hugh Jackman sort of is this Ryan Reynolds type who just, you're definitely gonna want to see his movies when you hear his interviews and his featurettes. So yeah, I still got to go with Hugh Jackman, even though I think Bale has a lot more to offer than we would initially think.
Okay, I'll go with that. Matty, round us up. What's going on?
I think Jackman is a. I'm gonna start with love. Christian Bale should not be able to walk down the street without a crowd swarming behind him. With how like talented he is, and how many massive marquee movies that he's been in, he should be. And I'm not saying he's not popular. He should be way more popular. Like he should walk out of any like building he's in. There should be a crowd of people surrounding it just because of how talented he is. But you look at Hugh Jackman, you look at how he conducts himself. He conducts himself like a movie star. He shows up to press junkets and stuff. He's in a suit. He's got the big grin. He's had his teeth whitened. He's like sitting up. He's like, yeah, I'm really happy to be here. Like he's very media trained. And I'm not saying that Christian Bale isn't, but like
he's not.
Christian Bale, he'll more likely show up to an interview or a junket in baggy jeans and a flannel shirt with hair like mine, just all a mess, just like, okay, cool. Ask me your questions. I'll be as respectful and as I can. I'll answer the questions to the best of my abilities. We'll get out of it. Jackman is a promotional machine. I mean, you look at the stuff he does with Ryan Reynolds, like the little vignettes that they do together for
the Christmas sweaters.
Yeah, like those two are perfect for each other, and I think it's very interesting that Jarvi, you pick the Prestige to do this because that is the perfect movie for those two to be together in, because you have Bale, who is the more technical magician, and then you have Jackman, who's like the big show and the marketing, and he wants to be famous. So I think that's like the perfect movie to put those two opposite each other, because that is essentially them in their acting careers.
Yeah.
That's them.
Good point.
They don't really have to act because that's them opposite each other.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
That's a great. That's one of the greatest points I've heard Matty say on the show. And Hugh Jackman, he really is the greatest showman. He's touring around the world as the greatest showman. He's doing concerts as Barnaby or whatever his name was.
P.T. Barnum.
P.T. Barnum, not Barnaby. P.T. Barnum.
All right. Interesting. Real quick, I'm going to throw that before we move on. There we got Andrea saying he's a Jackman story. Jackman showed up at X-Men Origins. The film being leaked, and he was the nicest and took a pic with him. That's sweet, man. Especially given how not great that movie was. Let's see. Matt Kern saying Bale is nice, so he did tell Affleck to put a zipper in his Batman suit. That's true. That's very important to know. And I think that's all she imagined him to be. All right. Let's move on then to our next segment. Then we have more iconic roles. This was tough.
It is.
Yes.
Is it really?
Really, Matt? So you have something that's more definitive, you think, Matty?
Go ahead, Matty.
Go ahead, Matty. Go ahead, start us
While
off.
I think Christian Bale has been in roles that have been defining for him culturally.
He's back. Lost Jarvi for a second, but we're back. Okay.
while us as movie fans, we see Patrick Bateman, we see Gore, we see like all these characters that Christian Bale has been using that word, iconic roles. What role does Christian Bale have other than Batman that is more iconic than Wolverine?
More it's hard. American Psycho would be his next one.
It would be his next one, but it's still not more iconic. And Christian Bale isn't the Batman. You have other people that people are just like, no, that's my Batman. That's my Batman. And it may be just because we've only had one Wolverine. But tell me one other person that we could, with absolute certainty, look at Wolverine and say, that's Wolverine. It's Hugh Jackman. He is Wolverine. That's why they're bringing him back. Because they're like, okay, we want the dynamic between Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. But who else is there?
It's a good point. It absolutely is a good point. I will say it's interesting to see, like, you define that what is an iconic role. Is it an iconic role that's an iconic role because of the character itself, or because of the actor in the character in the role? And that's an interesting call.
Yeah.
Bale also has John Connor, which is an iconic role. Whether or not he did a great job, or whether it's a good film or not, people I actually like Terminator Salvation more than a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that
But
people remember Bale as John Connor though specifically, but that's an iconic role. He's in that role whether you like it or not.
But a good movie makes an iconic role.
Sure.
So in that case, I wouldn't say it is so.
I just want to. I want to continue, but I want to bring up Matty as a good point. Matty Gunner, not Matty. I keep getting because Matty Kearns. I think that Bale's great. That Jackman's great at Wolverine, but Bale is Batman, fighter, and American Psycho, and saying that American Psycho gets memes made in 2023. It's a decent point. And Matty also doesn't think that's a fair argument because we've only had one Wolverine. That argument works both ways, though. I gotta say, I'm gonna talk this one for you, Matty. And Matty. It's true. Bale wasn't the first to be Batman, and Bale has definitely, obviously, has a lot of opponents as far as people love Keaton, some people love Affleck in the role, et cetera, et cetera. Some people love Kevin Conroy as their Batman. We've only had one Wolverine. That I don't think you can argue that against Jackman either, because quite frankly, there have been people hesitant to replace him as Wolverine. They haven't been hesitant to replace Bale as Batman. I mean, Robert Pattinson was quick. They're like, we'll make it be Batman. Everybody's kind of, as far as Wolverine goes, should we make a new Wolverine? I don't know, because he's so much into the role. So I see both sides of that argument. But going back to my discussion before, John Connor is an iconic role. I think Patrick Bateman is an iconic role as far as that goes, and it is still talked about. A movie that has not had a real sequel. Obviously, it had the Rules of Attraction, but that wasn't exactly a sequel. A true Patrick Bateman sequel. The Machinist was an iconic role for what he did with it. Like nobody would talk about that movie. However, Bale made that into such an iconic role because of what he did physically. He does have his Batman turn, which was good. Although, again, I will actually argue. I'm going back and forth in my head because I'm not quite clear on where I'm going with myself. Because if you think about Batman 2, he's also had his detractors for Batman. People have come up and people make fun of his Batman voice. That's what Bale didn't do anything. He just is the voice. I'm Batman. That's what he is. He does have the fighter. He does have some other later on roles. Ken Miles, what some people would say is an iconic role at this point already. Ford versus Ferrari, specifically. But then you go to Hugh Jackman as well. And I think that Wolverine is almost a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing in terms of that is certainly his most iconic role. If he died today, that would be on his tombstone. He was Wolverine. But I think it also takes away from some of his other iconic roles. I do think Van Helsing is kind of like an iconic-ish role, even though it's kind of like his John Connor from Terminator Salvation. It's not exactly the most well-received movie, but it's a great role. I think his role in Les Miserables, Jean Valjean, is probably more iconic than anything that Christian Bale got nominated for, to be honest with you. I loved him in The Fighter, but I think that his role, I think that Hugh Jackman in the role is more iconic. So then you got to talk about things like Prisoners, which again, is that an iconic role? I don't know. He's more of the father. I don't think anybody even knows his character's name. Can you tell me his character's name right now?
No.
All right. But then you get The Greatest Showman. And I think as a film that is mostly loved, but on other ways, some people don't love musicals, don't love that kind of thing. And yet he's touring the country in that role.
Exactly.
Yet there's a lot to that role. I think I have to go with Jackman overall. He has the biggest one of the two with Wolverine. And I think his other roles are better than you think they are because they're overshadowed by Wolverine. So I'm going to go with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much to add. You pretty much mentioned all the roles. I think Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. He's Jean Valjean. his P.T. Barnum and his Van Helsing are, even though it's not a great movie, and I'm arguing against my point when I said a good movie makes an iconic performance. In this case, it's kind of iconic because of how bad the movie was, but it's still a very memorable role by Hugh Jackman. I think there's maybe three, mostly two roles that Christian Bale could be argued for in this category. Of course, Batman, American Psycho, and maybe The Machinist. But I think everyone know, I haven't seen The Machinist from start to finish. I know bits and pieces of the movie. I pretty much know the role. But it's still, it is kind of an iconic role, but nothing goes up against how iconic Hugh Jackman's roles have been. And yeah, it's pretty difficult to try to imagine someone else's Wolverine. I mean, there's easy movie star picks that you could put in there, but I think the fact that Wolverine is so iconic is the fact that Hugh Jackman had an uphill battle to fight. People were like, okay, he's that's not my Wolverine. He's tall, freaking Australian guy, no freaking way. And he's even more iconic as the character, I'd say, than the comic book rendition of him is.
Yeah.
He wasn't the first pick either, wasn't he? Wasn't it?
No, it was Dougray Scott.
Dougray Scott. Right?
Was it Ray Scott?
Yeah.
Ray
Hunt.
Scott.
Hunt.
Get down on your knees.
Yeah. Oh, what a different world we would live in. Absolutely. Okay. Well, then let's move on to another very, very difficult category. Very difficult category. Who has the more consistent filmography, Bale or Jackman? Does anybody want to fall on the sword and go first? I can take this one. Okay. All right.
This was easier to me than I initially thought.
Okay.
Look, you just need to bring out some of Jackman's movies. Van Helsing, Movie 43, Pan, Chappie, Reminiscence, and X-Men: The Last Stand.
How dare you?
It's a good movie, but I mean, it's an okay movie. But it's kind of these are all bombs. Okay, X-Men: The Last Stand is a critical bomb, but the other ones, no. Pan didn't do well. Chappie almost ruined what's his face's career. Neil Blomkamp. Reminiscence got pandered by critics. Van Helsing not loved by critics. Bale does have a few stinkers in there. I mean, Gods and Kings, Exodus. That is a woof. That is a woof. But apart from that, there's only a recent one, Amsterdam, and that movie it didn't do well. It wasn't loved by the critics. No one really hates the movie either. No one hates it because of Christian Bale. So this was quite easily Bale for me. I feel like Jackman has more, below average movies on his resume. And to say, because I loved Reminiscence, I'm just going the usual grain, the IMDb scores, the overall critics.
Okay. This one. Fine. I'll let it slide for now. But my one takeaway is, if you haven't seen Reminiscence, you really should go take a look at it. Very honestly, I think it's a very smart, fun sci-fi film that it was definitely missed its mark as far as audience goes. But I really enjoyed it. One of my favorite films of that year. Okay. Moving on then.
Reminiscence was your favorite of the year?
No, one of my favorites of that year. It was up there for me. I really enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm probably one of its biggest fans. I have to rewatch it. It's been a little bit since that. I didn't know. I watched like 3 times at the beginning. I haven't watched it since, but I want to rewatch it sometime soon. I agree with what you're saying to a degree. If I look at it this way, I look at both their filmographies, and I see one reason why Bale is probably going to win this for me. He's more consistent in terms of he does actually has less movies by far. Hold on 1 second.
They've actually both of they have quite the same amount of movies under their belts. I think Hugh Jackman has 62. Christian Bale has 54, so it's not that big of a difference.
But
so just credits altogether, credits.
But if you look at the filmography grouping wise, like Jackman will have like 3 movies in a year. For 2006, Jackman appeared in 6 movies.
Damn.
Christian Bale, like at most, was like 3, and that was barely. In 2005, he was in 3, and one of them was a smaller role. I think that Christian Bale is a little more choosy in his roles.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it is. None of he has some misses, but everybody has some misses.
Mhm.
Can't go that way. I think that Hugh Jackman is, for nicer words, like what I said earlier, a little bit more of a whore. He'll throw
for
stuff
sure.
out there.
Yeah.
Throw stuff out
Yeah,
there.
you're not
In
wrong.
the best way possible. In the best way possible.
I'm gonna have a good time. I'm gonna throw myself out there. I'll sing, I'll dance, I'll act. We'll have a good time together. We'll act. I think Bale's a little more choosy, and that's why he will always have the more consistent filmography, because he's going to take his roles seriously. Some will argue against me in terms of Thor: Love and Thunder, but I still think that was a calculated choice. It just didn't work out for him, and that's
Really?
coming from someone who loved Thor: Love and Thunder. Commercially and critically, the movie was very much panned. Let's be honest.
It was.
I loved it. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but it is what it is.
I can imagine. Sorry.
Yeah, I would just say I do think it's going to be Bale for me as far as more consistent.
I can't stop laughing because I feel like we all love Jackman, and if we ever saw him on the street somewhere, all of us together, we'd be like, "Hugh, you big slut, come here!" And he'd be like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "No, we love you."
It would kind of like be how Australians use. I'm not going to push my luck. They use the C word as a term of endearment.
Oi!
It can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But us Brits and the Aussies like to use that word as a term of endearment. If we just replace it with slut, like I feel like Hugh Jackman, I feel like he might be okay with it.
He might.
But I gotta go with Bale on this one solely because, like, looking through his IMDb, there was so many movies that he was in that I was like, holy shit, I love that movie, and I forgot he was in that. Like Midsummer Night's Dream,
Yeah.
Velvet Goldmine. Again, shout out Kevin Smets. He was in Newsies. Completely forgot about that.
Mhm.
American Psycho, Reign of Fire, Equilibrium, The Machinist, Nolan's Batman trilogy, The Prestige. Like, it just goes on and on and on. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, man. Have you ever been in a movie that wasn't... I don't think Christian Bale has been in a movie that bombed. Maybe not like...
At least it wasn't successful, at least critically or...
Amsterdam is the only one.
Really? It was Amsterdam was that
the
bad?
latest
Was
one.
that bad of a bomb?
Yeah, it didn't do
I
almost
have not
anything.
heard good things at all.
I'm just gonna Amsterdam
But,
movie.
like, a lot of people...
It's only made 31 million so far out of against a production budget of 80. Oof.
And critics don't like that at all.
Okay, so like one serious bomb out of his entire career. That's like, as Jarvi mentioned, like 50 plus credits to his name, and one of them is like a bad bomb. Like that's fair. That's pretty damn impressive. But like, I know people have their issues with Thor: Love and Thunder, but I still maintain, go back and watch our Ragnarok versus Love and Thunder episode.
Yeah,
I think
it
Gore
won.
is the best MCU villain that we had, and I think they really fucked up, and it's a missed opportunity that, spoiler alert, they got rid of him after one movie. And I get that that's a Bale thing. He doesn't like doing franchises. He wants to just come in, make his mark, and then get out. But I think there was real potential with what they could have done with Gore. He's my absolute favorite MCU villain to date. And I just feel like you said, he's very selective with his roles because he's like, I don't want to do all these movies and then just phone in half of them. No, as Jarvi said, he likes to take time, prepare for his roles, sometimes go to the absolute extremes to prepare for his roles. But that's why every time he does it, he knocks it out the park.
I just want to clarify, we're not saying that Hugh Jackman is phoning in his roles when he does do more of them.
No.
He doesn't phone his role. He definitely doesn't take it seriously. But I do agree with your point, Matt, about that. Kern's actually is a good point as well. He does say that he thinks in the bad movies that Bale is in, it's not ever because of him.
Exactly. No. Amsterdam.
So,
do you know the reason why Christian Bale is getting these awesome roles?
Go on.
It's because Leo DiCaprio is passing on them.
That's true.
He said that in an interview.
Really?
I will forever thank like every one of us. He said should thank Leonardo DiCaprio for passing on these roles. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a career. Yeah, Leo gets offered everything, and Bale is pretty much the next in line in Hollywood.
So what you're saying is, what Leo wants, Bale gets.
Well, no,
Whatever.
if Leo wants it, he gets
doesn't
it.
want. What Leo
Yeah.
doesn't want.
Yeah.
I was
Bale
playing with it,
gets.
guys. I'm still trying to like hold on to the lethal weapon.
Okay,
No,
okay.
then you should have said what
Okay,
Leo
okay.
wants. Leo gets. That's what you should say.
Okay, that's true. Okay,
Fair
what
enough.
Leo wants, Leo gets, but what Bale wants,
messed up.
what Leo doesn't want, Bale gets.
That's exactly. All right. Well, let's move on then to our final category. This has been a slobber knocker, a very close fight at this point. Let's
It's
move
close.
on.
Slobber.
Final category.
Say that word again.
Slobber knocker.
Slobber knocker.
Yeah,
Please
obviously.
translate to a dumb European. What is a slobber knocker? Because there is no way that word exists.
You're obviously not a wrestling fan. WWF old school JR Jim Ross used to
okay.
say it all the time.
Yeah,
You're an old slobber knocker of a fight.
Okay.
It's
okay.
like a knockdown, drag out.
It's the big one.
Slobber knocker.
So we're moving on to the final category, which is better future potential. Of the two actors, who are you buying on? You have to make a choice as who's going to be more successful in the future. That could mean critically and also commercially. So you got to keep that in mind as we go through it. I will say that there's a lot to be had with this. I thought about this one quite a bit. You have Christian Bale, who has obviously, like he said, he's very choosy with his roles. He seems like he could be put in any time. He could be put into a director could put him into a role like just made for him to be an Academy Award winner. Like you wouldn't be surprised if any time he's put into a role that all of a sudden is catapulted to the top. That's what he went with in Amsterdam. It obviously didn't work out in his favor, but that's the kind of Christian he is. Hugh Jackman, on the other hand, just can't not be successful at this point. I feel like even if his movies if he leaves movies, they don't automatically. Hugh
Bale
Jackman
or Jackman?
I'm going to Jackman now. I went with Bale. Jackman has had his bombs because of his slutty ways. He is a big slut, as we've said. He's had some bombs, but I feel like he also has more to offer in terms of just potential, but in terms of ability, as far as he goes. You could put him into almost every role. You could put him into a song and dance role. You could put him into Broadway. You could put him into a musical. You could put him into I could see him in a comedy. I could see him in a comedy anytime. I could see him in an action role. I mean, he's coming back to Wolverine. I could see him in a critically acclaimed role. He can get more roles with someone like Denis Villeneuve. He can get that dramatic role that he could get like an Oscar nomination for still. I don't see, whereas I think Bale is more pigeonholed. So Bale could absolutely be successful. I mean, it sounds weird to say pigeonholed. I said that and I don't like what I said. Pigeonholed is so hard to pigeonhole him because he is a chameleon of sorts. Like I said, he goes into these different roles that way. But I mean pigeonholed in terms of he has one real avenue. He doesn't like these franchises things. He doesn't like to do these repeated roles. I feel like he could do almost any role, which gives him a sense of potential. But I think Hugh Jackman just has more of a blanket of potential in terms of he could do almost anything. You could put him in a lead role. You could put him in an action franchise. Could you see Bale really doing an action franchise? I'd have a hard time seeing it. He'd want to do one movie and be done. I could see Hugh Jackman in a couple of years becoming Liam Neeson, but better in a way. He could have that run of like older man action movies where he could just have a lot of fun and have a lot of commercial success. That's why I think Jackman has much more of a potential leading forward because he has the acting chops. It's not like you put him up against Bale. Bale has more acting, credits as far as like acting goes and Oscar nominations, etc. But Hugh Jackman's not bad. He's not necessarily bad. So he could he could work up against that in a way. But he also has the potential of doing more. So I'm going to give this to Jackman.
Yeah, this we got to come clean. We were laughing our asses off because of Christo's comment, and I'm sorry, Pioli, because it kind of ran into your explanation there.
That's okay. That one about Jarvi slob his knocker all the time. That's
sorry. Like I did hear your point.
I lost my shit.
I did hear your point, and it was very well articulated. But Christo almost broke me, and I was fighting so hard. I was like. No.
All right. Before we move on, I suppose I'm glad to say Bale to do the Dark Knight franchise. Yes, he did, but he doesn't like doing it very often. I feel like he's not going to do something he's going to do more often, whereas Jackman would do it in a heartbeat. He'd do an action franchise in a heartbeat.
I think you said it so well. Is that Bale sort of has? I think Bale has probably reached his ceiling. Like he's pretty much done. We know what he's capable of, and he's been doing it for at least 10 years now. He's been giving us critical performance after critical performance, getting Oscar nominations, doing the work, being all intense and dark and broody, and can do. In Amsterdam, I think he kind of had a goofy role, but the movie itself bombed. What Bale could do is Bale could go the Hugh Jackman route and try doing just do a rom-com or do a musical, do something we haven't seen before. But I don't think he's going to go that route. And this is why I'm giving it, for exactly the same reasons, to Jackman, because I don't think we touched his ceiling yet. Okay, maybe we've touched it, but we haven't gone through the ceiling yet. He has so much more potential in that scenario. And I feel like The Sun was sort of a step in that critical direction. And I think there's so much more, ready underneath there.
Yeah, I will also throw out there he did The Front Runner in the past couple of years as well, and that was another decently. I mean, it wasn't completely critically acclaimed, but he was critically acclaimed in the role of Gary Hart. So that's another good step in that direction. He seems to be flip flopping between his critical roles and his more fun roles as well. He does The Greatest Showman in Logan in 2017. What a twosome that is. Then does The Front Runner. Then you get to Bad Education. But then he does a cameo in Free Guy, does Reminiscence. He's going to go back into Deadpool after doing The Sun. So he does do that back and forth a little bit better now. And that's definitely a good point you're making. Matty, finish us out there. What do you say?
I'm going to be the contrarian.
Okay.
I think Bale, because I think Deadpool 3 is going to attach a rocket to Hugh Jackman's back for a long time, that people are going to be like, oh, so you're back doing Wolverine. Oh, when's the next one going to be? Oh, when are you going to be coming back to do Wolverine again? Because if I'm not mistaken, Logan, he said that was the last one, but it ain't. So he's going to come out and say, oh, well, Deadpool 3 is going to be the last. That's it. That's the last time I'm ever going to play Wolverine. Is it really though? It's like that safety blanket. And it's a pity that Lego's not in the chat with us today, because I'm going to equate Christian Bale to an actor that we bring up very often on this, Nick Cage. I think Christian Bale is going to have a Nick Cage kind of career, in that he has spotted moments where it's like, oh yeah, Bale's on a run right now, Bale's on a run, and then he kind of fades away. But then Nick Cage comes back. He does Unbearable Weight. He's going to be Dracula. And it's the tortoise and the hare of it. Jackman's going to have that rocket on his back, but Bale's slowly going to be creeping up behind him. And I feel like, in terms of critically, I think Bale's got it. Does he have it the big epic stardom that Jackman's got? No. But I think if we're going to say which one's going to step away first, I think it'd be Jackman. I think Jackman is more likely to go into... because let's not forget, he has a theater actor background, and now he's back on stage performing. I feel like Jackman's going to go the route of maybe start appearing on Broadway more and start doing more stage performances later on in his career. Whereas Bale is still going to be picking these roles that is holy crap, it's Christian Bale. Oh, Christian Bale's still doing a movie. Oh, wow, he's still knocking it out of the park, much like Nick Cage. I feel like it's going to be one's going to go one way, one's going to go the other. And I feel like Jackman's going to go off and start doing stage shows, and Christian Bale is going to keep going with what he's doing.
I'm going to strongly but respectfully disagree with almost everything you just said.
I have to agree with you.
First of all, I'll say Kelly saying, if Bale is Cage, does that make Jackman Cruise? Maybe.
Yeah,
huge cruise.
Comparing Bale to Cage is a very strange thought to me. I kind of see where you're coming from towards the beginning. They both did have a run where they were critically acclaimed, etc. I think Bale is way too choosy to ever start doing the Cage route. Cage became quite the slut for a while, where he was just doing any movie that came his way. He says he was particular, but let's be honest, he was in every made to DVD. I mean, looking at Cage's career, he has a run of absolute shit. I don't think you'll ever see that from Bale. And as far as Bale making a comeback, I think you have to go away to make a comeback. I don't think Bale's ever going to quite go away that much to make a comeback. Cage went away straight to DVD and then made some critically acclaimed movies and is kind of back in the front headlines at this point. But I don't think Bale has gone away far enough to do that. He's been too consistently in there. He had, even though Amsterdam was a bomb, Amsterdam was a critically acclaimed director making a movie with a top-notch cast, and he was a part of it. Cage couldn't do that a few years ago. Cage. I don't know if Cage can do that now. I think Cage would more likely be in a supporting role potentially. I could see Cage in like a supporting role, like a Tarantino movie or something like that. He could do something like that, but not nearly heading up a cast like that. And then as far as Jackman goes, I can't see him ever stepping away because he's a big whore. I think he loves it too much. I think like he'll go do his Broadway thing. Sure, I'll do it like a year and go take it on the road. But he's going to make his appearances here and there. And like I said, he's been bouncing back and forth between critically acclaimed and front-running shows. I think he's got that great balance going on where he won't need to step away because if his stepping away is like going off for 6 months and doing something, then he'll come back and make 3 movies, or he'll make supporting roles in 3 movies. I don't see that. I mean, that's your opinion.
I think what I meant is with the Cage comparison is it's going to get to a point where a few years down the line, we're going to be like, holy crap, Christian Bale's still out here knocking it out of the park, huh? Like we were with Nick Cage. What if we look at it in like financial investment terms? Jackman's going to make me a lot of money right now that'll make me, okay, I'm good for a little bit. But Bale is that steady income over time that I know, okay, I'm always going to have that to rely on. Jackman is going to make me a lot of money right now. I'm going to blow through it really quick, and then I'm going to have to wait for the next thing to come along.
Okay, I will take that argument a little better. If you're telling me that Bale is going to be more consistent, perhaps in the future, I think that would just continue our category choice. Is that yes, he's always going to be a little more consistent in terms of because he's much more particular with his roles, much more. He chooses with great care his characters and roles in his career, so he'll probably be more consistent. That I'll give you. But I think Jackman, I would bet on Jackman being more overall successful because Jackman, if Jackman has the critical chops to stay in the conversation in that range, that you could see him again be put into any kind of role. A critical director could absolutely put him in a supporting role, and he would do a great job. And I could see him getting a nom at some point. I don't think that Bale has quite the commercial desire to be in the Jackman type situation where he could just flip on and do three movies or do an action franchise, et cetera, et cetera. So, okay. I mean, we already had our conversation. I don't want to repeat what I was saying before, but so I definitely respect your opinion. But we'll end it there. We have finished our battle, folks.
Before you announce the winner, Matty, we were so close to a perfect game. Category by category, we all agreed. We could have Billy Chapel this. You had to fucking ruin it. And PLD, you tried your sway, Matty.
I did. I did. We walked the guy in the 9th inning, unfortunately, with 2 outs. So no perfect game for us. But it is that close, though. It is that close.
This was the class action version of the Ashes, Jarvi. I know you're quite a classy man. So you understand. You like cricket, don't you? I'm pretty sure you're a cricket fan. I'll take that as a no.
No, you hit it with a bat.
Okay, I thought you were. For some reason, I thought you were a cricket fan. But yeah, this was England versus Australia. This was the Ashes for me. So this was a very good one for us to do.
I did enjoy this. I did enjoy this week. I really appreciated it, and I hope everybody else did as well. But without further ado, the winner of this match by a score of 8-7.
Again.
It is Hugh Jackman.
Damn.
Ooh.
Damn.
Hugh Jackman by 1 point. I'm satisfied with that. I'm happy with that. I did think Jack was going to win, and so I have proven right. But it was by the slimmest of margins, and I would have been happy either way. I love both.
Mhm.
It's us going back and forth with these guys like we always do. I absolutely love both these actors, and if I see them in a movie, I'm very excited. And quite frankly, I wish to see a true Prestige reunion. Let's see Jackman and Bale in a movie together again. That's what I would like to say.
Do you know what I'd love for both of these actors to be in is a proper horror movie. I'd love to see a horror movie with Hugh Jackman, and I'd love to see a horror movie with Christian Bale.
Jackman in a horror movie. Has he done one? I don't think he has.
I don't think he has. Well, Christian Bale's no, Pale Blue Eye. No, it's not a horror movie. It's a crime mystery with maybe a few horror aspects. Because there's a big fucking scare in the Pale Blue Eye at one point, but it's
I don't think I've
not
seen
really
that.
a horror.
That's his
movie.
most recent one, right?
Yeah, that's on Netflix. It's a great movie. It's really good.
I mean, Van Helsing is horror-esque, obviously.
True. Batman Begins, when
Begins.
Bale goes all fucking,
Interesting.
sludgy.
Yeah, somebody would say Exodus, Gods and Kings was a horror movie, but not for the right reasons.
No, that was a horrible movie.
Horrible movie. Gotcha. That'd be cool. I would like to see that. But that's a good point. Put them in the remake of Face Off. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh,
That would be kind of cool.
Wins.
That'd be
This
kind of
would
cool.
win it.
Although, quite frankly, I think you might more likely see Jackman and Ryan Reynolds together in the face-off role, just because of their chemistry. Just because of their chemistry together. Oh God!
They have to be. No, I don't want to see them together.
How would you not want to? How much fun would that be? How much fun would Jackman being Reynolds and Reynolds being Jackman? With how close they are, that would be fucking hilarious. I think Jarvi.
I don't know.
Go home and rethink your life, Jarvi.
Jackman's too good in that type. Like, they're great in their respective fields, but I feel like Reynolds doesn't have and I love the guy, doesn't have a lot of range though.
No, he doesn't. But I think he could use limited range he has with Jackman specifically. That would make it work. That's but only I would not put Reynolds in this movie for anybody else except for the fact that they have that close chemistry together. That it would work that way. One last thing I do want to say, Matty, cricket. Nobody understands cricket. You have to know what a crumpet is to understand cricket. Of course,
I get the reference. I
get the reference. It's from the wonderful classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990. Just so you know. Anyway, that's it for this week, folks. I would like to shout out some patrons. Patreon.com/PLD Projects. Please feel free to come join us. We have a lot of fun, some extra content, a great Facebook chat with people like Allison Salamone, Brandon Buckingham, Brandy Brucker, Jeff Alterman, John Lastrina, Partish Dason, and a few others. They help keep the lights on. We thank you so much. Really do appreciate you folks. Again, I'll say it like I said before, if you're new here, I hope you enjoyed yourself. Please hit that subscribe, hit that like. Let us know how we are doing. And we have some great content coming up on this channel. This week, I had to postpone 2 Mediocre White Dudes on Film with PJ due to my insane work schedule, which is just killing me. But that's okay. Next week, 2 Mediocre White Dudes will return. We're continuing our journey into the Lethal Weapon franchise. Lethal Weapon 2, myself and PJ next week. Also this week, we have Crown Jewels on Friday, A Journey Through Queen, where we are talking about one of the greatest rock songs that Queen has in their catalog. And a interview with my friend Mike Deacon from What the Show podcast.
Yes.
Stone cold crazy. So we're doing that. But more importantly, I think, and not more importantly, equally as importantly, but interestingly enough, tomorrow, Wednesday, we have the 4th episode in our newest podcast for me and Matty, Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast, where we talk about the Bad Batch episode that will be coming out tonight. And we're talking about the news of the week. And we have a special guest this week. Very special guest this week.
Very special guest.
Joining us is the co-host of the Force Center podcast and a million other podcasts as well. Mr. Ken Knapsack will be joining us on Holy Snokes,
No
Star
way.
Wars podcast.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck?
Lots of fun to have there. Can't wait to discuss Star Wars with Ken, a good friend at this point. And is that it? I think that's it.
You guys need
find
to
me
be on? Just let Ken Knapsack be on. Alone.
You can sit in the backstage bit.
There you go. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Denuzio. Matty, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Matty Gunner, Instagram Matty_Gunner. You can find my band Mourner, Mourner, on all streaming platforms, or just go to mourner.co. You can find all of our merchandise and everything there. And you can find me here every Tuesday for Class Action and every Wednesday or Holy Snopes with Mr. PLD. And yeah, that's it.
Eric Jarvi, where can the folks find you?
Facebook and Instagram at Richard-Erik with a K Jarvi. Not on Twitter, not Richard_Jarvi. And also on Letterboxd.
All right. Well, that's it, folks. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Justice has been served, my friends. Court is adjourned.
Slobber knocker.